Welcome, I'm Dani Dazey, and this is my renovation story. Come on in. Palm Springs is only a few hours away from LA, so it's a really hot destination spot. And in the 50s and 60s, it was a huge hub for celebrities, and so many designers came out here and built vacation homes, and it became this town known for design. Specifically mid-century design, funky colors, prints. Palm Springs is full of personality, and I love Palm Springs. My mom was from Palm Springs, born and raised. My grandma, a lot of my relatives live and lived out here. And I saw this house, and it was actually in my price range, and it was so cute and so special that I just fell in love with it right off the bat. And we didn't even have like a big plan to rent it out at that point. We didn't really have any plan at all. We just loved the house. And then over the past 6.5 years, we've been slowly renovating one project at a time as our budget allowed. Owning a home was something that I was striving for so many years. And this is the house that ended up being my first home. And this space is actually what kind of launched my interior design career. I'm a print, fashion, and interior designer known for my use of bold colors and fun prints. It's just really cool to like finally get it to a place after all these years where it feels, I want to say finished. Nothing is ever finished, but it really feels like it's in such a good place, and I'm so proud of where we've gotten it to. It just really feels like a place of self-expression, and taking people on a tour through my house feels like giving them a little peek into who I am. One of the things that drew me to this house was how much curb appeal it had, with that gorgeous mountain backdrop and that statement orange door and the cactus garden. And it had this really cool PVC pipe sculpture in front. And from that moment, I just decided, okay, this house is gonna be an orange house. So I really leaned into the orange, and I wanted this home to feel rich with texture and with color and with the artwork and the wallpaper. You're kind of have this whole like visual feast as you step in the door. We did do some big changes with this house, but we did get lucky with some pretty good bones. It's so cute how it has this little dining nook right next to the foyer, next to the kitchen. It's just flooded with natural light. You get that Palm Springs sun. So it's just always the most magnificent light. We have the gorgeous landscape right outside, and it just has that awesome view of the cactus out front. And it's such a nice space to like sit and work or enjoy breakfast. Like, they don't make houses like this anymore. One of the biggest changes we made in this house was the floors. They were painted concrete, and they were painted gray.
As if it's almost trying to be actual concrete.
They were peeling, and they were really difficult to clean and keep up with. Changing it out for tile was the best decision we ever made. Like, these floors never look dirty. They sweep up super easy. They're so durable. They're so like cool temperature-wise. Of course, they're cool also. And it was a labor of love. My husband and our friend who's a contractor really busted it out. I was helping as much as I could too, getting all of the separators out and roughing up the floors.
Here is the heavy-duty grinder we use to get all of the concrete paint off the floor, leaving the beautiful concrete.
It was like weeks of living in renovation land, which we've done quite a few times, but it's never fun.
Meanwhile, these two lazy bones not giving us any help at all.
It was a journey, but it was so worth it. They're the first thing people notice when they walk in. Guests of all ages, like hearing their responses. Kids are like, whoa, like this is so cool. And even like older guests will come in and will be like, wow, are these like the original floors? Like this reminds me of that era. And it's just this really cool experience. Like, design is an experience, and I want to woo and wow people wherever I can. When we originally got the house, I loved the original kitchen. It was preserved 1959 William Kreisel pegboard kitchen. All the old appliances were built into the cabinetry, and we tried to preserve it as best as we could. I ended up painting the pegboard. At one point, the city did decommission our oven. We even had like an oven guy come seeing if he could fix it, and he said, I can't actually even turn this back on because it's been decommissioned by the city. So we were out of options at that point. And at the end of the day, the kitchen needs to be a kitchen. So we had to make a renovation here. The way that the cabinets are still has that mid-century feel. And of course, we got all the amazing vintage-inspired appliances. And I really tried to bring in other retro tones. It feels so 70s and fun. People always think it is the original kitchen, but it's just a really good homage to it. If you use design right and you use print and color right, you can really work with any color and make it look awesome. Another really impactful change we made in this house is change out all of the lighting fixtures. There was essentially no overhead lighting in this house, so we had to have all of these put in. Just really helps bring light to this house, but also swapping out the lighting adds so much to the design. Like now here's this whole moment right here. It makes such a statement. It's so cool. And I think it just really gives it that fun Palm Springs mid-century feel. People come visit this city wanting to experience that era, that architecture, that design. So I want to give it to them. The living room had amazing bones, but it was all white walls and gray floors and zero personality. So that was the first order of business. How can I bring some color into this space? We still did keep a lot of the white walls because I do love how much light it brings into it. But I also just love an accent wall. It can add so much fun and personality. And this wall is really special to me because all of this artwork behind me is original artwork by my grandmother. She never got to see the house, and she's been a huge inspiration to me as an artist. And as a designer, I love color and bold design, and she always used the most amazing color in her artwork. And this was one of the first things we did. We got this house 6.5 years ago, and it's still one of my favorite walls, not only at this house, but that I think I've ever designed because it's so special to me. Sort of like a collaboration between my design and her artwork, and it's just really cool to have a space to honor her and her amazing work. I like trying to find balance between like these orange accent walls and then the splashes of color in the kitchen, and then you'll find the colors repeated in the furniture or the artwork. And then it's really just about spreading that throughout the room. It feels really 70s and authentic, but it's fresh and new. And I think a lot of things in this house feel super mid-century, but are kind of brought to the modern era, and you're able to experience it in a way that feels authentic, but also not dingy. And I love it. Down the hall, we have our bathroom that is a mix of original design and some fun touches. One of the coolest things we did was reglaze this vintage sunken tub. And it's one of those details that we wanted to keep. I mean, how fun is this like retro sunken feel? And the color is so much fun. Like you can't find a tub like this in this color. So reglazing is an awesome option if you want to add some color to it. We had a pedestal sink in here, and your girl needs some storage, so we swapped it out for this nice vanity. We changed out all of the lighting. We didn't do a whole lot in this bathroom, but just by paint, reglazing, and swapping things out, we were able to essentially create a totally different bathroom. And at the end of the hallway, we have our 3 bedrooms, starting off with our guest bedroom. It really leans into the yellow. Almost has like a little bit more of a Joshua Tree vibe than a Palm Springs vibe in here. It's a little more earthy. There was zero lighting in here. And we redid the floors as well. And this sort of like yellowy orange mid-century pattern works really well with this room, and it also really works well with the bedrooms. And it's also the same tile that we use in the backsplash of the kitchen. So it's tied in different areas of the house, even though the floors are different. And I sort of love that there's like a different experience as you go into the bedrooms, like a little surprise, a little change. I think it's a really nice and peaceful guest room. Here we have a multi-purpose room. It serves as an office, a guest room. We really needed a space that was versatile. And this is a pull-out couch. It's one of the most comfortable pull-out couches. We've had it for the 6.5 years we've had the house, and it looks amazing still. I also added this mural in recently, painted it myself. like paint by numbers. Such a fun way to tie in a lot of the different colors we have in this room. I start to bring a little bit of blue into here, and I also tie it into the next room. So this little office / guest room is actually connected to our primary room. We added these little curtains in for privacy when we have big groups staying here. And originally we were thinking we were gonna close it up. It just made sense to have more bedrooms. But then after spending a little bit of time here, we decided we really liked how it felt like this grand primary room. And it also brings in light from this side of the house. It just creates a lot more light in the room. As you can see, I bring in a lot more of the cool tones in this room. And then I found some other pieces like the really cool velvet bed, the artwork on the wall, the vintage light fixture that bring in the orange, the yellow, and the blue and make it all make sense. I feel like it's a really big departure from the rest of the house, and it gives you a different experience as you walk in. I love to create as many different moments and experiences as I can. Back in this office, we use the blue as well. And so everything's tied nicely together with a bow and looks great. There really is a relaxing vibe in these rooms. It's just really magical. One of my favorite things about California design and mid-century design in particular is the indoor-outdoor lifestyle. I really wanted the outside to be a whole nother living room for people to hang out in. So we created a bunch of different vignettes, a really cool fire pit, hot tub to the cowboy pool. I think our yard is a cooler cactus garden experience than some of the public cactus gardens that there are in Palm Springs, and you get it all to yourself in our big private yard. It's just the coolest place, and we love spending as much time as we possibly can out here. Nothing beats the feeling of working really hard and then seeing the finished result, especially when you do it yourself or do it by hand. It's just that much sweeter to enjoy the finished result. This home launched my career as a designer, and it was my first home, so it's really meaningful to me. And it's actually nice to come here and feel like you can relax instead of feeling like you need to repaint the cabinets or caulk the tile that fell off in the kitchen. It's really just, to me, one of the most special places on earth, and I just feel honored to call it my own and be able to share it with others.
Hi, I'm Natalie Papier, and this is my handmade home in Charlotte, North Carolina. I love meeting artists, I like connecting with artists, I like helping artists, and in return, I collect a lot of art. I don't ever remember a time when art wasn't my biggest love and passion and influence. My dad's an artist and he's a carpenter, and he renovated the home that we lived in, which was a big Victorian house. And it was so fun to see this mix between him as an artist and how he took that love of art into the home. We moved into our house in Oak Park, and my daughter at the time was 1, my son was 4. This is big, grand Victorian. I think we felt like, oh gosh, we're adults now. We have to do adult things. I had all the interior walls painted some type of agreeable gray. After a few months, just agreeable gray doesn't agree with us. We are not those people. And it just kind of set my course into what is now my career. You're starting out as a young family, and we were a little house broke. We bought the big Victorian and then didn't have the furniture to fill it. So I started experimenting a lot with thrifting and paint. Paint became my best friend. Little by little, I'd take a room at a time. I would find a piece of art, and that would inspire color palettes or pattern mixing. And I got really excited about it. And I thought, why not? Why can't we do this? And once you start playing with things that really feel true to you, I think that's when your house can really sing. I started an Instagram for my new business, Home Ec, which initially started as pop-up shops. And I got a lot of people asking me for help, and it spiraled. I do art-forward design, and that's about being influenced by the art itself and using a piece that you already have and love as inspiration for the whole room. So the art becomes a focal point, but the whole room is harmonious because you're pulling the palette, the scale, something out from it that highlights the piece. So we've been here in Charlotte for 2.5 years. This house felt grand right when you walk in. It's got all this intricate molding and the fireplaces and big windows. That to me just felt like a canvas. Right when you walk in the front door, you come into our entryway, which is kind of a funky space because it's long and narrow, and it's hard to know what kind of furniture to put into an entryway. So I put a lot of different things in here. This is a piano by Frankie Zombie, who I met here in Charlotte. He's just such a cool guy, and I love having a piece of furniture that is art in and of itself. These huge walls with the molding were perfect spots for some large-scale pieces of art, which frames the entryway right when you come in. I have been really obsessing over Shea Dog design for a while. They do very cool lighting that are all made out of paper mache. And this piece in particular, being white amongst this blue color, it just pops. And I like the texture of it. And then coming in through here, we call this area the sunrise room. This piece of art over the fireplace is by this artist, Peter Keel. I was so into these warm pinks and terracotta colors. It's got some of the blues and teals of my vintage couch. My chair is in this rose tone. It literally is the piece in the space that the whole color palette streams from. It was kind of chaos when we first moved in, and I bought this vintage birdcage stand, and originally I was going to hang a plant from it. My son just took this and popped it on here, and I wish I could take credit for this because I thought that is the coolest way to like showcase a disco ball. I am going to take credit actually because I made you. So it's just experimenting and getting fun with it and not seeing things quite so literally. So we're coming into our dining room here, where a staple of the room is this dining room table, which was an old refectory table from a college. And I love it because it already had so much warmth and patina, and it doesn't matter if you get a watering on it. It doesn't matter if the kids draw on it and get a little paint on it. It just keeps incorporating more character into the piece. We totally changed the kitchen layout, the flow. It was closed off. It had walls and 2 doors that you needed to walk into it, instead of how now it's an open kind of donut down here. It was walls that came to about here on either side, and then double French doors. But there was no flow. The flow stopped when you got to the kitchen. And the kitchen was already dated, so it was a perfect opportunity to take it and run with it. It's a small kitchen. It's basically a galley kitchen. It feels large because of the layout itself. And I wanted to have open shelving, but open shelving can be tricky as far as storage goes. With this, we built it all into the stove surround, and it has that little Parisian flair with the unlacquered brass. I think when it comes to working with color, you have to be really intentional about how you use it so it doesn't go overboard and feel like preschool and color explosion. So it's nice to have these quiet moments, like the pale pink of the cabinetry. And then it kind of jazzes up a little bit with the art. I had already kind of amassed this collection of portraits that I really loved, and I started with the one piece, Jacques Pierre, right under the light. And he felt lonely there, and it didn't feel to fill up the wall enough. So I started experimenting with different configurations, and it ended up being something incredibly fun about this space that's so linear. It gives it a little bit of this asymmetrical moment that I have come to love, and now he gets to hang out with all his buddies. If you're just buying things that you love and you just think are cool and you would love to have them in your home, the hardest part is making a cohesive design flow throughout your home. And in this case, what I did in order to let a lot of my pieces shine is to keep the walls white. And because of the open floor plan of the downstairs, that was an opportunity to highlight a lot of my pieces and not have it feel like too much when room to room needs to kind of, speak to each other. The way I use color in this house is by defining color on the ceilings. And then I come in with this texture and pattern, and it's a lot of editing in the end because sometimes I'm like, okay, there's one too many things happening in here. When I saw this ostrich, I was just like, what is that? And I need that immediately. So this is Beyonce, my ostrich. There was a couple times when we were trying to name her. I think my son wanted to name her Frank. I'm like, that just doesn't sound right. She needs the proper, like, queenly name. Beyonce. This mid-century record player is one of my favorite pieces. I picked it up at an estate sale for $150 and it was completely in working order. And now this room has just kind of become our lounge. Everybody picks their favorite records whenever we have a record playing. So everybody knows what we're listening to. We put it in Beyonce's mouth. She's like our DJ. Yeah, my kids hate those. Too bad. You think those are subtly terrifying? I think they're charming. So we decided to go with like an Alfred Hitchcock theme in the bathroom, starting with the Psycho picture. When I saw that floor tile, it's so impactful and graphic. And in a small space like that with no windows, I really wanted something to just pop. And I just like it because it makes people giggle. Subtly terrifying. Okay, stay. Go, boy, stay. Stay. So coming into this space, this is an adults-only chill zone. I was looking for something to cover these two closets as they were such a focal point. There's not much you can do. Even if you wallpaper, you're still dealing with the closet situation. So I wanted to think of something that was more unique. And I found a graffiti artist here. He was also a graphic artist, but out of work at the time. And he came and he did this and we collaborated and it was just really fun. And he's become a good friend of mine here as well. And we kind of sparked this space off by literally stamping it with our journey that represents Chicago to Charlotte. When you talk about things that influence you, part of that to me has been movies that are scary, like Alfred Hitchcock, or a little bit of that like Beetlejuice vibe. There's something about her haunted look and all of her eggs that I just find really intriguing. And right through the sitting room, you come into our bedroom area. Anytime I mix patterns, I think the most important thing to think about is scale of the patterns. Not only the colors, but you can't have big pattern, big pattern, big pattern, otherwise it feels too much. So if you break it up with smaller patterns, black and white is a great way to ground a space, and then you can add a little bit more in without it becoming completely overwhelming. All right, so now we're going into my daughter Maddie's room. She's 10. She's got a pretty cool space in here, but we wanted to still keep it young and fun and vibrant with some fresh colors. Sometimes it sparks my creativity to get more hands-on. Maddie's bedroom has this fireplace and it's very, very pretty. And we have the room painted this very pale kind of mint color. And I went in one day with this idea to just paint some poppy flowers on there. And I didn't even think too hard about it. And I think sometimes for me, that was my biggest issue, is sit in front of a canvas and feel so much pressure to make something amazing. And I didn't feel that. I just wanted to bring joy into my daughter's room. I always think it's important for little girls to have good role models that are women. And I wanted her to feel surrounded by this like gaggle of empowering women, but they're also fun and they're quirky and they're colorful and they all have their own personalities, just like our kids do. She wanted a beach theme. I'm like, I'm not gonna put palm trees on your wall, but I'll definitely get you the shell chandelier that was on sale. This started out as a craft room until the pandemic went down. Now it's kind of multi-purpose office space. The kids did their schoolwork here. We still use it as a craft space. Obviously, with any good craft space, you have to have a beverage fridge. The ceiling color that we brought into this space is called Dynamic Blue. And it was inspired by my buddy here, the Marlin, who we picked up in an estate sale. My husband and I walked out like holding him on either side. It was like our big catch. Now he graces the wall and tries to not to impale people as they walk in the room, you know? I just like pieces that have a story, and it's not just, I picked this up at West Elm. It's like, no, I met this family. This was their grandmother. It's just, you keep getting that history passed down and becomes part of your home's own story. In my head, when I moved into this house, I envisioned it looking like an art gallery. And it kind of has taken that on, but more in a, we also live here kind of way.
Hi, I'm Bari Ackerman, and this is my handmade home in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm an artist. I design art that goes on products, so products like wallpaper, rugs, dishes, bedding, phone cases, anything that art can go on, my art goes on. So I was drawing into a graphics tablet and then into Photoshop, and then I was creating pattern repeats. Hi, Ruth. And I was creating pattern repeats and making into fabric designs and wallpaper designs, etc. But when I started painting, everything kind of changed because they did. This is just rude. I have to get her a leash because this is ridiculous. Hey, Cab, look at this dog. What was I saying? So when I started painting, it changed everything because then I had this tangible thing. The art just became more, I don't know, there was a joy to it. There was always joy, but there was a real visceral kind of joy to the art. And that's when everything really changed. And then, honest to Betsy. Throughout my home, there's color and pattern in almost every room. So I call it curated maximalism because where I think more is more, I feel like the more part of it should be intentional rather than just kind of like stuff for stuff's sake. I love mixing and matching patterns and colors, and so you'll see on the couch, I always have an animal print somewhere. And then the different scale and style of the pattern. So the chairs here have a very tight pattern where there's kind of a loose central pattern, a little larger on the round pillows, a scenic pattern here, animal print, and a geometric. And that's how you make them all go together, is by contrasting them, but having a color or something that comes through. So you'll see like this deep teal is in almost everything, and then there's a pink that comes through. I always know that I'm gonna mix furniture styles. There's gonna be modern, there's gonna be traditional. So I start with the color first. In this house, it's pink, green, orange, and white, and black. Black, there's always black. Almost every space that I have, you're gonna see black somewhere because black grounds the space. For whatever reason, even when I'm painting, adding a little black and a touch of white gives that depth that's necessary so that the painting's finished. And I think it's the same way with interiors. If you add black, it gives that depth of color. This is my favorite piece in the house. This is a chinoiserie secretary desk. I love her. I love the gold detailing and the glass and the crisscross lines in the glass and the color of it with this kind of orangey red tone. It's not quite red, it's not quite orange. One thing that I'm always really careful to do is not try to match every pink and match every green. You can use all the different tones of orange and all the different tones that lead up into pinks. When you do that, it gives you a more like textural, it gives you more depth. And so I'm very careful to make sure that I'm not trying to match. The living room leads into the dining room. It's one big room, and we have a pretty like oversized table for the space. And it's also like a really clean line. So mixing it with things that are ornate like this, but then I also mixed in art that is abstract and art that's sculptural. So things that are simple mixed with things that are more ornate is how I roll. My very favorite moment in the home right now is the mural that's behind us. I hand painted this wall here. It was a big blank wall, and so it was just screaming for me to paint something on it. And I love scenic murals, and so I just got out the acrylic paint and started. I don't sketch anything out. I just kind of go with the flow. It took about 3 months for me to just keep adding and adding and adding to it. And I can't promise that I won't walk through here one day with the paintbrush and just go whoosh, flourish something on there. It's like if it's not moving, then I'm gonna paint it probably. Ruth, you got anything there I could paint? I actually do get paint on her every once in a while. She gets walking around, I'm like, what is that tuft of yellow in your hair? So I think that florals were probably the first thing that I just was drawn to paint. And I think my love of florals really evolves out of childhood. I have memories of my mom cutting off lilacs off the branch and me wrapping it in paper towels and tin foil and carrying it to school to give it to my teachers. And I also sat next to my mom as a little kid as she did a huge needlepoint, and it took her years, and it was this giant urn of flowers with this like burgundy background. So I think those memories are like in there, they're ingrained. So behind the kitchen, there was a laundry room that had a tiny little pantry closet and then a door and then a laundry room. We made that whole space a butler's pantry. This is my favorite space in the house. I just think it's so sweet and colorful, and it stores all the things that we need us to store, and it has my collection of vintage fruit and still life, and then my own painting on the wall. The painting on the wall actually was a shot out of my book, Bloom Wild, and I painted it. So it's a dining table top. I just love it. And I love that the ceiling is the same color as all the moldings, and I love all the lights. It's just a fun room. And the best thing about this room is that there was dead space in a dead corner in the kitchen, and so we used it on this side down at the bottom here for Ruthie's bowls, and there's even a little piece of vintage dog art down in her little cubby. The butler's pantry and the kitchen, we carried the wallpaper through from one room to the other, and we also carried some orange colored elements through, just really in the accessories. The tile Kevin and I put in ourselves. It took 4 different weekends that we were working on it the whole time. So I absolutely love open shelving. We had it in our last house, and initially I was a little bit afraid to have open shelving. Like, what if, you know, things look cluttery on the shelves? And I went through everything I had and I was like, do you really use this? And if I didn't really use it, I got rid of it. And really I did get rid of quite a lot of stuff, and I don't miss it. I recently found this adorable McCoy strawberry cheese dome, and I loved it so much since my name is Bari, and I thought, well, I'm gonna collect berries. And to me, a collection isn't a collection until you have 3, but then like 4 is clutter. So I have the cheese dome, and then I found the McCoy cookie jar, and then this strawberry container up there. In the kitchen dining nook, I wanted it to feel modern and fresh, but I also wanted to make sure that this part of the space, which is all open to the family room and the kitchen, felt like it was a separate room. The chairs, I designed a fabric and then had it printed and recovered. The rug is my design for Loloi rugs, available at Anthropology. And then over here, I got these on Amazon, and they originally had white pleather on them. Shh. Recovered them in one of my fabrics for Art Gallery fabrics. And I really like how the teals and the greens come together. And also, if you look at like the scale of this, is different from the scale of the wallpaper, is different from the scale of what's on the floor. And then also you have a geometric mixed in. So that's how I kind of get away with using so many different patterns, is varying that scale, but also using color as a through line. And you need a cookie. So for this gallery wall, I started with this kind of ornate. That's so rude. You gonna continue? I started in this room with this kind of ornate. Kev, the dog. So in the family room, we have a gallery wall, and that artwork was kind of collected over time. It's centered around the mirror. So one thing that I try to think of when I'm doing a gallery wall is either I'm gonna try to match all the frames And if I can't do that, I'm gonna try to come up with a similar theme for all of the art that's on the wall, or there's gonna be a color through line. So initially I had the molding white, but then when we painted it green and wrapped the molding in the green all the way around the room, it made such a huge difference from this big open space to bring it all together as one cohesive space. You know, surprise yourself and paint something like a ceiling or the millwork, but I promise you that if you start adding it, you will become addicted over time. The very first thing that I picked for this house was this wallpaper. I just felt like it went with the house, and I was looking for years for a place where I can use it. The chandelier in the foyer, I purposely picked something that was just completely non-fussy. The banister was white, so I had it painted a shiny high gloss green. That is not for you. In the guest bedroom, there's a bed that has a heron print on it, and that bed is from Joybird, who I collaborated with to create a collection of furniture. So that was a limited edition. And then you'll see also on that bed, there is a quilt that I made that is all my prints, and there's some pillows and things like that. So the fabrics that I design are kind of scattered all over the house. So I collect a lot of the vintage floral prints from thrift shops and on eBay, antique shops, and I've collected them over the years, and the wall is already full, but sometimes there's just one that's irresistible and I have to have it. We wanted to make this space feel a little bit bigger, so I had it painted all the way from the floor up to the ceiling, Rosé Season by Claire Paint, and that helped lift the room up and make it feel just like a pretty little jewel box, I think. There's a lot of prints and patterns in this room. There's some on the floor, again, that's geometric. But to make it work, what I did was I have prints with an open space here. There's a geometric. This reads as just textural, which we, in the fabric world, we call a blender. This has some more open space in it. So you've got these, I'm just ignoring her because this is rude. I have a bad dog. I mixed in solids to break up all of the different patterns, and I think that's why it works. She's not usually like this, I swear. So this light I found at a local store that deals with vintage stuff, and this is, it's called a Hershey's Kiss light, and it's a vintage light from mid-century, and I wanted something in here that was just a little extra shiny and a little bit more like, where this is all a little bit granny, that's a bit more that's a bit more modern. And this one is a turkey. Stop, stop, stop. You know what? You can have the whole 12 minutes or whatever this video will end up being. It's all yours. Kev, can you come take this little monster? No. But I'm the star of the show. I was holding back in this room. So this is the least maximalist room. The main thing I wanted to do in this room was raise the ceiling up. And I did that by putting in a piece of art that went from all the way to the bed to the ceiling to give it some height. And also the lights give it the height as well, because you've got that other vertical line going with it. I wanted the primary bedroom to feel relaxed, but I also really love joy in a space. And I feel like if you add pattern and texture and color in any space, you're gonna get that, but I still wanted it to feel, I mean, minimal for me. So there's a minimal for other people and there's a minimal for me, and that was like my most minimal space. When people walk into my home, I want them to feel like they've been welcomed in, and that it's gonna feel cozy, and there's a place for them to sit, and if they wanna hang out in the kitchen and have a drink and eat, they're welcome here.
This is what's inside me. what you see here in this house. This is the best way that I can describe what it's like to be Maria. Hi, I'm Maria. This is my handmade home in Minneapolis, Minnesota. My name's Maria Bartholdi. I do about 500 things for a living. I'm mildly internet famous. I'm a podcaster, improviser, write musicals, edit video, shoot video, produce video. Also a neurosurgeon on Sundays. Just kidding. I bought this house in 2020, right in the heart of the pandemic. It's a craftsman style home. And I could tell the bones were really, really good, and that was the most important to me. Essentially, it was a blank slate, and I just got in here and threw down like a wrestler. My whole vision behind decorating this home was that I wanted to be inspired creatively. Going out and doing what I do is a lot of giving, right? You're on stage, you're in front of the camera, you're constantly giving yourself to the audience. I wanted to come home and feel like, yes, I'm reinvigorated to do more of what I love. That was the vision behind everything being colorful. The Maximalist style was just wanting to feel kind of like an explosion of creativity. Hello, this is the living room. It's a burst of color and hopefully a very happy experience. It started probably with the couch because I knew that I wanted to have a chartreuse green 70s style couch. I think everything else is an offshoot of that. It went up onto the walls. It's my favorite color, and so many things in my life are this color. I just love it so much. So this is my gallery wall of all my most favorite pieces of art. This is one of the things that I think is such an easy upgrade to make in your house. I know it might look scary, like I got a ruler and a measuring tape and I measured everything here precisely. I did not do that. All I did was I measured the center of the room, boom, put this big unicorn piece here in the middle, and then I sort of just eyeballed everything else. This is my cathode ray tube TV that has been turned into a cat bed. This is a super easy project. It's just been gutted, and then on the inside I painted a little starscape so that the kitties can have nice dreams when they go in there. I love wallpaper. If I could wallpaper every room in a house, you know, I probably would. This wallpaper I agonized over for weeks and weeks what to do. I eventually landed on this black and white mural, which I think is a really cool idea. It's all one piece of uninterrupted art. That inspired the fireplace to become black instead of white. It's a nice anchoring color because there's so much color in this house. To have a few heavy black elements is really cool. So the dining room was built actually around this light fixture. I wanted a lot of heavy black elements to also match the fireplace. And that's where you get this black granite table, which I absolutely love. Yeah, so here is my game cabinet. It's one of the premier things that I bought for my home. I needed a place to put my games, but also it displays kind of who I am as a person. I have a regular board gaming group. We meet and we play games every Monday. And then for my job, we'll sometimes be playing board games to review for the YouTube channel. Is it work? I don't know, you decide. Like, this is a huge part of my life and it's on display as a design element, which I think is a cool thing to think about. How can you display who you are through design? I think it was just a slow accumulation of stuff, honestly. You know, I'll be out and I'll see something and I'll just be like, yes, this I must acquire and bring to my collection. It's like those birds that make a nest and they decorate it with little bits of glass. I'm one of those birds. Here's my tribute to my great uncle, Frederick August Bartholdi, who designed the Statue of Liberty. Once when I was young, we went to the Statue of Liberty and I was like, do you think they'll let us in for free if we show them our IDs? I'm not just a proud American, that's family history. As you can see, I love playing with light. Alexa, turn on dinosaur light. There we go. So here's a fun one that you can program to be any colors you want. I've got a neon sign up there, which was custom made. You can get those now anywhere. A smart bulb in my lady lamp. At night, this place looks like a disco. This is the piece de resistance, Lloyd, the robot bartender. I'm a huge fan of robots. I love everything about them. And I drew a lot of robots. I had an Instagram account called Robot a Day where I draw one every day. Robot bars apparently were a thing that coincided with the moon landing. And someone said, you should have this. And I looked it up. You can't, of course, buy them. So I contacted a local woodworker who graciously offered to build me one and did it in a week and a half. And so this is Lloyd. Do you want a drink? Lloyd will provide. He's named Lloyd after the bartender in The Shining. This is my favorite piece that I have in my house because it's fun, it's whimsical, it's functional. He's great. I love this bathroom. This is the downstairs bathroom. I can't take credit for it, unfortunately. The owners before me flipped it, and it is gorgeous. The fun story with this bathroom is that 2 owners ago, a pair of nuns left the convent to be together, and they lived together in this house for 25 years. Talk about being trailblazers. To be 2 women who were Catholic nuns, number 1, leaving the convent, number 2, living as 2 women together, is so brave and incredible. When they were demoing this bathroom, they found that behind this mirror was written on the wall, Jan loves Emma. And I can only imagine that it's still there today. And that just makes me so happy to know that this was such a loving home for some people for so long. And I just love that story. And it inspired me, actually. That's the next musical I'm working on right now. It's called Jan Loves Emma, and it's a biography of them. Ooh, this is cool. This is a watercolor that's done of the front of my house that was painted by the 2 nuns who lived here. That was a neat item that's been handed down through 3 owners and given to me. So whoever owns it after me will also get it, which I think is really cool. This is my office. The main focal point of this office here is this feature wall. This house is more than 100 years old, and for its 100th birthday, I thought it'd be very cute to get the house a present. And so I decided to put in a mural. We did it in the Art Deco style of the 1920s to honor the house's creation. This is where I do my watercolors. These I just do for fun, for myself. During the pandemic, I think we all turned inward. We needed something to help soothe ourselves, to calm ourselves. And I had just recently gotten for Christmas a watercolor set, and I started drawing women. Being a proud feminist and being a champion for women, it was just a subject matter I was drawn to. I found it to be so incredibly healing as a process. It's so relaxing and wonderful to have a nice space to do them. So this is my watercolor area right next to where I work. So this is where I'll host podcasts, esports tournaments, all from my house because of the pandemic now. It makes me feel happy to be in here, and whenever you're doing work, that is a good feeling to have. This is another example of a gallery wall. My house is a little tiny one, except this one is all my work. These are some of my watercolor ladies. These are some of my most favorite pieces. You can kind of see the evolution of the style that I've developed, where this one's more traditional, and then I'm getting more experimental with these ones, which I kind of like. Also, if you have nice jewelry, show it off, you know? That's why I have these in clear cases. A lot of them are handmade by local artists. You know, I like to think of them as little mini pieces of art in and of themselves. Anywhere that I'm in my house, I want to be thinking, this is my favorite spot in the house right now. That's how I want to feel in every single room. I think people would describe my personality as excitable, loud. I like to be happy, and hopefully that's reflected in the design of this home and the way that I've put it together. Happiness in a home, that's kind of, I guess, how I would describe my design aesthetic here. What does happiness look like? This, at least for me.
Hi, I'm Maggie, and this is my handmade home in New York City. I am a mural artist and interior decorator. I'm not a minimalist in any sense of the word. I love color, I love big patterns, I love big statements. So if I have a client who's letting me do that, then I'm absolutely going to go for it. If I'm going to be doing this for a living, you know, I got to walk the walk and talk the talk. So I wanted to make sure that this space was totally me and totally mine. Okay, where should we start? Favorite spot is definitely in the living room. I get the best sunlight in there, so it's a huge reason why I love that room. It's flooded with light in the morning hours. This is really my safe haven, my sanctuary. This is where I work every day. When it comes down to it, I'm a girly girl and I love the pink in there, and it's bright and colorful, and so on the day-to-day I'm in there with all my plants and my pink wall, and I'm happy. It actually all started because of the rug that I chose in here. It has some really fun colors, pinks, oranges, blues, and I figured, okay, I'm gonna just pick some colors from this rug and incorporate a mural into the space. I've always been a plant lady. I've had lots of plants in all of my apartments, but this is probably the brightest apartment and brightest room I've ever been in, so I knew this is my chance. This is my chance to really make a jungle happen, and it's, you know, it's gonna be an ongoing continuation, but right now I'm doing pretty good. Welcome to my hallway. Let's talk about the hallway. It's like a rainbow of 5 colors, and those colors actually draw in the colors of every single room in the apartment. So, you know, the pink stripe is pink from the living room, the red and the blue are red and blue from my bedroom, the black is from the kitchen, and the yellow is from the bathroom. So it's the central point of the apartment, and the colors in that mural are pulling from every piece, and so it kind of ties everything together. Honestly, I'll tell you what, it was because I had leftover paints. Like, that was what I ended up choosing those colors for that mural. It was because I had paints left over from all the other pieces that I'd done. I was like, you know what? I got tons of paint sitting around. Let me just use what I already have. The reason that I wanted to do the mirrors was for 2 reasons. First of all, to reflect the mural, so you can see the mural through the mirrors, which is very fun. It almost like alleviates a little bit of the work on my end. Like, I could have muraled the entire hallway, but that seems like a lot more work than just reflecting it. And it was all purposeful placement, so like this round is like reflecting this round edge, so like when you look in there, you see the roundness of that side, and this long one is here because of this like long piece, so it reflects perfectly. So there was a bit of a method to the madness, and as you see there is a little bit of madness going on in here, and probably in here too somewhere. The other reason is that like I said before, the reason I love that front room is because it gets tons of natural light, and so especially in the morning, as the light is shining in really bright, it brings a lot of the light into this part of the apartment. So when I wake up, if I'm in this room, I still get some of that natural sunlight from the front room carrying all the way through because of the mirror. And it's also just kind of nice. Like, there's this first big mirror, and that's the mirror that as I walk out of my bedroom, so like if I need to check my hair on my way out the door or whatever, I've got a mirror there. Welcome to my bedroom. I really wanted to create like kind of a more relaxing sanctuary. I love that my space is so colorful and lively, and I want people to feel excited, but I did want to feel relaxed when I come to bed at night. So I chose some blue tones to kind of make it feel calm. So I did the headboard here because it's a tight space and I couldn't fit my old bed frame that had a headboard on it. And I really wanted to make these sort of fake sconces work. And so I kind of planned it all at the same time. So you can either install them on sockets on a wall that has light sockets, or you can leave the cord on the exterior, which is what I did. And I just have these little wire covers. So from there I figured, okay, how do I decide to paint around this? I didn't really want to paint over it because it could have looked weird on the outside of the plastic, so I decided, okay, I mean, I can kind of play with the width of this and make it work within this headboard. So I came up with this miniature arch series, but I still wanted to work in the blue somehow, so that's where the florals came in. This is my jewelry drawer. Tons of vintage earrings and stuff in here. Thanks to Mom. These are from Mom, those are from Mom. How 80s are those? I looked at those, I was like, Mom, can I take those? She's like, yeah, I don't want those. I was like, I love them. She thinks I'm insane. Where's one of my favorite things? There it is. It's one of those things that used to clip cardigans closed or something, but I use it when I'm wearing shirts like this that have like a little collar, because it kind of looks like a necklace. Lots of fun things. All of the light fixtures in here were your typical, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say this, but as we like to call them, boob lights. I don't know if you guys are, if I'm allowed to say that word. But anyway, I call them boob lights because they're like round and they have the little screw in the middle, so you look up and you're like, that's that looks like a boob on the ceiling. It was, I mean, every single place that you see a light, there was another boob light. So I was like, okay, this is just not gonna fly. And I've always just been fine with it in old apartments, and I've never thought about replacing them, but I was like, okay. It was so worth it, and I love how all of the lights look. It just gives such an elevated look to the space without spending a ton of money. So this mural, honestly, it was kind of a last minute decision. I hadn't really planned out any mural for this space specifically. I was open to it, it just wasn't something that I made a plan for until I saw things in place. And choosing the black and white was really for two reasons. I already had black paint, and the rug has a good amount of black and white in it, and I wanted this room right in the center to kind of have a little bit of that neutrality, knowing that there was gonna be a lot of fun colors happening in all the other places. And I wanted the rug to be the hero. The statement in the kitchen is this rug, which is a rug I bought when I went to Morocco a few years ago. I love this rug. It's like a keepsake for life, and it has a lot of amazing colors in it. So I just went with a black and white, you know, simple geometric situation, you know, and it just kind of connects around the window a little bit, and it kind of leads you into the bedroom by ending right here in the corner. This mug my friend Rachel gave to me, and it's the goddess of the home. Her name is Hestia, which my business name is called Nestia. It's about nesting and feeling settled in your space. As I have obviously done, I have really nested into this apartment, and so that was where the business name came up. So I love having her on display because she really was the inspiration toward, you know, the business that is now my career. So it's a little inspirational corner. Whenever I look over here, I know that she's watching over me, the goddess of the home.
Oh, don't do that to me. I can't name just one spot in my home that I love. That's like naming a favorite child or dog. Hi, I'm Jenna Pilant, and this is my handmade home in San Diego, California. I came home from the hospital being born to a yellow-walled, navy carpet, rainbow-themed nursery. So I don't know if I came out of the womb loving color, but I definitely got influenced by it right away. I am a polychromatic designer. I flip rooms, furniture. My favorite color is the rainbow. I'm a born and raised Nebraska farm girl. I really feel like that farm life cultivated my creativity. You know, my mom would make a lot of our clothes, and she would refurbish furniture and whatnot. So she taught me a lot of what I know now. And I just feel like my love of color and creativity, along with being able to really be a hands-on kind of chick, has really served me well in this life and this career. Right when you walk into our space, the first thing you see is this giant checkered mural. I wanted to give all guests who come here a nice little taste of what to expect throughout the home. When we moved into this house, it was beyond blah, 50 shades of beige. The beige is gone and personality is here. This is our Technicolor dining room. The only pop of color with this built-in when we moved in was the countertops. So I actually played off the color and painted the wood to be a complementary hue. I'm obsessed with disco balls, so I decided to make a disco ball backsplash. Laid each one of those little squares by hand myself. And then this is a mural that I did. I'm a Nebraska farm girl. My dad raises cattle, so I feel like I was born decades too late. I find such inspiration in 50s, 60s, 70s motifs, their color palettes, the fashion back then. This is the Atomic Atrium Project, AKA the sunken living room I built during the pandemic, poured all the concrete, installed the custom super graphic shag carpeting, and even made these custom upholstered cushions. The couple that built this house originally grew plants in this atrium area, so there was this giant cement tub underneath, which is why I knew I could build a sunken living room. I added the plants there because I have the original hose, so I knew that I would have easy access to water the plants. This is the formal living room. This is a 1970s circular sofa that I thrifted up in Los Angeles and then reupholstered with black velvet on the inside. And on the outside back, I did this Peter Max inspired reproduction print. The original sofa did not include fringe underneath, but I decided to add that for a little extra flair. The main design hurdle for this space was working around this Bala marble that I never in a million years would pick myself. But I also wasn't gonna go and replace it. So instead, commissioned muralist artist Ruben Rojas, who is out of Los Angeles, to come and graffiti up with his iconic love signature. What I love about this mural is it adds a permanent, unexpected art feature within the space. Every home in this area actually has a built-in palma bar. Their saying is, when the hill turns pink, it's time to drink. I kid you not. But I wanted to have an Art Deco feel to this bar. Did a custom brass countertop, found this wonderful tile that has a brass inlay. However, gold grout looks super cheap. So instead of going the traditional route with grout, I actually went to a metal supplier and bought brass and cut each one of these pieces myself on my miter saw and then glued them into place instead of using traditional grout. This is the main bedroom. The entire color palette was inspired by this peel and stick wallpaper I found online via Etsy, which influenced the colors that I selected for the custom headboard footboard I created for the space. As you can see, the headboard plays off the same pitch of the roof, which is congruent throughout the entire house. Trend is my least favorite word. Honestly, the thing for me in design that doesn't go out of style is being you. Like really honing in on what you like and what your color palette is. An unexpected pop of color is the carpet, which is purple, directly influenced by the Saguaro Hotel in Palm Springs, which is my absolute favorite place to stay. It's like the mothership is calling Jenna home. This is my design office. This is where I spend my time creating all of my furniture flips, interiors, murals, etc. People are always really surprised that a color lover like myself picked a white tanker desk, but the reason I did that is I did not want any colors influencing my design as I work. But I did add unexpected pops of color by getting these magnets made that just stick right onto the tanker desk. My design office also acts as a second guest bedroom. So you want to talk about the power of upholstery. I got this free sleeper sofa off of Nextdoor, and I just recovered it with new fabric, and voila, I got a perfect sofa for my office that also doubles up as a bed. This is the family room, which is the space that propelled me from upholsterer to designer. I had actually never tiled a day in my life, and I decided my first project out of the gate was going to be demoing this completely down and rebuilding it from scratch with this 3D hexagon tile. Behind me is the Don't Run With the Pack art installation. I get so many comments on social media about this one guy turned the opposite direction, but I actually did that on purpose. You know, you gotta go to the beat of your own drum. All right, last but not least, this is where all the magic happens, my creative workshop. This is where I execute my upholstery projects and other design things that I'm being creative with. We've got some furniture pieces that I've created that I'm gonna turn around and resell. I've actually been cleaning up for y'all because a clean upholstery shop is an unemployed one. And here we got all my fabrics on this metal fabric rack that I actually thrifted from an upholstery store that was shutting down. And then here is my sewing room. Got everything I need to take your projects from blah to ta-da. People think that they're afraid of color, and they're really not. They're afraid of making a decision and living with that color. So I really just hope to bridge the gap on people's fear of using any sort of boldness within their home. Working with color sparks joy every day for me. I mean, how can I not be happy working with these bright, beautiful, colorful palettes?